Welcome to this edition of Talk with Taz Live. Today I want to talk about freedom. Yes, freedom. What is freedom? Freedom is the power to act or behave, speak without any hindrance, meaning you can just do it the way that you want to do it. You don't have a fear of being imprisoned or enslaved. The benefits of freedom include economic gain, human dignity, and even food and appropriate shelter and medical care. In a week, we will celebrate Independence Day, America's Independence Day, on July 4th. This day commemorates the 13 American colonies' decision to remove themselves from the governance of the British monarch. Prior to that time, they were working under or living under the rule of Great Britain, and they wanted to be free. So that day marks their freedom and the fact that they are now united into 13 independent states. But the question is, why did they want to be free from Great Britain's power? Why did they want to be free from them? Why did they revolt? Well, they revolted because basically they were being taxed. And we learned this when we were in school that they had excessive taxation. But the thing that we didn't always understand when we were growing up is they were being taxed, but they had no representation. What does that really mean? Basically, it meant that the colonies, those 13 colonies, they were here in America, what would become America. And they were still living under the rules of Great Britain, but they did not have any colonial representation in Parliament. So what I'm saying is they were working under the rules of Great Britain, but they were not allowed to have anyone represent them who actually was living in the colonies in the government. Let me think about that for a moment. So you're saying they're working, paying taxes, having to obey the laws of the land, but they didn't get a chance to help make the laws. Yeah, that is the reason that we're taught that they revolted. They were being asked to do something, but they were never allowed to make any of the rules that were helping to govern what they were supposed to do. They wanted their freedom, because otherwise, were they enslaved? Even though they were British citizens, were they actually enslaved since they were not able to make any of the laws that governed what they were going to do in the colonial states, or in the colonies rather? I don't know, but it is something to think about. Because they had no freedom of action. They were forced to work, pay excessive taxes. But when I still think about freedom, this word freedom, most assertions of freedom are as a result of a group of people or individuals who decide they no longer want to comply with the status quo. They just stop. They're not going to do that anymore. Throughout recorded history, we've seen people defend their right for freedom. This becomes evident when they reject what is in front of them, what they once did. Whether they liked doing it or not, they just did it because it was what was supposed to be done. So freedom, does it begin with the individual, or is it about the group? It's like the chicken and the egg, which comes first? Well, for most of us, I think it begins with the individual. If we're honest, we've all felt powerless at some point in time in our life, unable to act, speak, or think without hindrance or restraint, with the fear there. How did we get to this place? Well, sometimes it's out of distress. Did we deny our feelings for economic gain? We don't want to lose a good thing. Or is it perhaps we've compromised our faith? 2, is it because of pain and loss? The loss of family, friends, loved ones, jobs, Is it the fear that it then accompanies that loss, and certainly the pain? Is that what sort of, we've been fighting against because we've put ourselves in a box and we can't get out? Well, those are normal feelings that come with the loss, but we don't always internalize them appropriately. So I talked about that fear. Fear binds us. Sometimes it paralyzes us, and it doesn't happen instantly. It's a process. It happens over time. And you wake up one morning and you find that you've lost your freedom, that individual freedom that we have. But nevertheless, we still strive for freedom every day. Is it necessary? Absolutely, it's necessary. It is necessary for our self-actualization, if I was going to use my psychology terms, but it's necessary for us to feel good about who we are as individuals. Because when we don't feel good about ourselves, that then spills over to how we interact with other individuals. And then we begin to take our stuff and we put our stuff on them. So then they become enslaved to our stuff, or to their feelings or their inability to function given everything that they are experiencing. I want us to think of freedom, though, as a tool. That tool to help build individuals, to build them not only physically, but emotionally, not only economically, but emotionally. Emotional empowerment is a necessity, and it comes with freedom. I love the story of the children of Israel. They were in Egypt and they were enslaved. The Jews were enslaved, and they didn't just get enslaved overnight. It was a slow process, because when they first were there, it wasn't that they came as slaves. But over time, the process took place and they became enslaved. Imagine what their self-esteem was like. Imagine how they felt emotionally, knowing that they were not born slaves. They were brought to that country. They came to their country freely, and then over time they became slaves. So the emotional component of being free is so important. And yes, we get economic gain. Yes, you're going to get a whole lot of things, but it's important to not be enslaved emotionally. So I want us to think about freedom as that tool, the tool for you to build yourself up and open up doors of possibility, but also to build up other individuals so that they're even stronger. Because as we build each other up, then we build stronger families. Then we're going to build stronger schools, because families send their kids to schools. So all of our children will be better prepared academically, because then they become the leaders of not tomorrow, but today. They're the leaders of today. And when we have strong leaders, strong organizations, strong families, strong individuals, we have a strong nation. And that should be our common goal, that we want a nation that is free, where individuals can contribute and continue to make it a better place for everyone. So as we prepare to celebrate our Independence Day on July the 4th, our country's Independence Day, remember, freedom is a tool, and freedom is something that each of us should have in all aspects of our life. And when we understand that it doesn't mean that one person is less or one group is less or whatever, that is a tool to make our nation stronger, then and only then will we function the way that we can. The way that we can. And it's up for us to determine what we can. It's not up to us to just buy what people sell us. We all have a way, a place in writing what is to become. This is our nation, and we can make it as beautiful, as great as we collectively decide that we want to. But in order to do that, you cannot deny your individual or your collective past. You must take responsibility for it. Because if you don't take responsibility for it, it seeps into our emotional health. And therefore, we're not emotionally free. And it is very important to be emotionally free. So, as we begin to think about America's Independence Day and what we need to do to take care of ourselves until next week, let's think about freedom, emotional freedom, so that we can all strive to be the very best that we can be and make sure that our families, our organizations, our country, our world is the very, very best that it could possibly be. This has been Talk with Taz Live. Until next time, take care of you first. Take care of someone else. Take care of your family. Take care of your community. Take care of your organizations. And let us all take care of our nation. Bye now.